Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're a fan of 90 Day Fiancé, buckle up because today we're diving into some jaw-dropping news about one of the show's most talked about couples, Julia Trubkina and Brandon Gibbs. Here's the bombshell. Julia and Brandon are officially divorced. Yes, you heard that right. The couple we followed through love, drama, and everything in between has called it quits. But that's not even the half of it. In a twist straight out of a soap opera, Julia has already married her secret boyfriend, Alex. Julia Trubkina, sheep to Brandon Gibbs. Today, we're going to unpack this roller coaster of a story, from their fairy tale beginnings to the infidelity scandal that rocked their world. We've got exclusive details, insider scoops, and reactions that'll leave you speechless. So, let's not waste another second. Here's everything you need to know about Julia Trubkina, Brandon Gibbs, and the mysterious Alex. Let's rewind the clock to where it all began. Julia Trubkina, a fiery dancer from Russia, and Brandon Gibbs, a down-to-earth farm boy from Virginia, seemed like an unlikely pair. Their love story kicked off in the most modern way possible, through a FaceTime call. Brandon was chatting with a friend traveling abroad when Julia popped into the frame. Sparks flew instantly. Brandon didn't hesitate. He hopped on a plane to Russia to meet Julia in person, and their chemistry was undeniable. After a whirlwind romance, he proposed to her during a romantic getaway in Iceland. It was the kind of moment that had fans swooning and rooting for them from the start. But love across borders is never easy. Julia's initial visitor visa to the US was denied because she listed Brandon as her boyfriend, a red flag for immigration officials. Undeterred, the couple pushed forward with the K-1 visa process, and in 2020, Julia finally landed in America. Their journey aired on 90 Day Fiancé Season 8, from December 2020 to April 2021, giving us a front-row seat to their 90-day countdown to marriage. Living with Brandon's parents, Ron and Betty Gibbs, on their family farm in Richmond, Virginia, wasn't exactly Julia's dream scenario. As a city girl, she clashed with the rural lifestyle. Think early mornings, farm chores, and strict house rules like no sharing a bedroom before marriage. Despite the tension, they made it work and tied the knot in April 2020, right on the show. For a moment, it looked like Julia and Brandon had beaten the odds. They moved out of the farm into their own apartment, as we saw on 90 Day Fiancé. Happily Ever After, Season 6. On Instagram, Julia posted picture-perfect shots of their life together, and fans were convinced they'd found their happily ever after. But behind the smiles, trouble was brewing. As we'd later learn on 90 Day, The Last Resort Season 2, their marriage was anything but stable. Let's dive into the cracks that started to show. Fast forward to 2025, and Julia and Brandon were back on our screens for 90 Day, The Last Resort Season 2, which premiered around December 2024. This spin-off brought struggling couples to a retreat to salvage their relationships, and boy, did Julia and Brandon need it. The show peeled back the layers of their marriage, revealing issues that had been simmering for years. One of the biggest, their opposing views on kids. Brandon was eager to start a family, dreaming of little Gibbs running around the farm. Julia, on the other hand, was adamant. She didn't want children, period. Brandon says, "I've always wanted kids, Julia. It's important to me." Julia, "And I told you from the start, I don't see that for myself. Why can't you accept that?" This wasn't just a minor disagreement. It was a deal breaker. Their therapy sessions were tense, with both digging in their heels. But that was just the beginning of the drama. Then came the bombshell that shook the resort. During a group session, Brandon accused Julia of infidelity. The room went silent as Julia tearfully admitted to kissing her ex-boyfriend while they were engaged, before she moved to the US. Julia says, "It was just a kiss. I was scared about leaving Russia, and he was there. It didn't mean anything." Brandon says, "A kiss is cheating, Julia. How am I supposed to trust you after that?" The other couples didn't hold back either. They called Julia out, agreeing with Brandon that a kiss crossed the line. It was a gut punch for Brandon, who later confessed to the camera that divorce was starting to feel like a real option. Brandon says, "We're already fighting about so much, and now this infidelity. I don't know if we can come back from it." Fans watching at home were stunned. Social media lit up with reactions, some defending Julia's moment of weakness, others slamming her for betraying Brandon. But what no one knew at the time was that this confession was just the tip of the iceberg. There was another man in the picture, and his name was Alex. After the last resort, things went from bad to worse for Julia and Brandon. In early 2025, the news broke. They were officially divorced. Court documents, obtained by sources close to the couple, show the divorce was finalized on February 15, 2025, citing irreconcilable differences. Insiders say the decision was mutual but far from easy. Julia and Brandon had tried everything: therapy, counseling, even time apart to save their marriage. But the wounds, especially from Julia's infidelity, were too deep to heal. In a joint statement, they told the press, "We've decided to part ways amicably. We'll always treasure the memories we made, but this is the best path forward for both of us." It was diplomatic, sure, but it didn't stop the flood of questions from fans. One fan tweeted, "Julia and Brandon are over. I'm crying real tears right now." Another wrote, "I knew they wouldn't last after that cheating drama." The divorce hit the 90-day fiancé community hard. People had invested years in their story. So what pushed them over the edge? Sources say it wasn't just the ex-boyfriend kiss. There was a bigger betrayal lurking in the shadows, one that Brandon discovered in the months after the last resort. And it all leads us to Alex. Just when we thought the story couldn't get crazier, Julia dropped a bombshell that left everyone reeling. On March 22, 2025, she married her secret boyfriend, Alex, in a private ceremony in Russia. That's right. Less than 6 weeks after her divorce from Brandon, Julia was a bride again. Who is Alex? According to insiders, he's a successful entrepreneur from Russia, tall, handsome, and loaded with charm. He and Julia met through mutual friends in early 2024, while she was still married to Brandon. What started as a casual friendship quickly turned into something much more. Alex swept Julia off her feet. He shared her Russian roots, understood her love for the spotlight, and offered a life of adventure, everything Brandon couldn't. Sources say their connection was electric from the start, and Julia couldn't resist. Paparazzi caught them together in Paris just days after the divorce was finalized, strolling hand in hand, laughing like newlyweds. Before Julia locked down her Instagram, fans spotted pics of her with Alex in Bali, New York, and even Moscow. The timeline was suspicious, to say the least. In an exclusive interview with our channel, Julia gushed about her new husband. Take a listen. Julia says, "Alex is my soulmate. He gets me in a way Brandon never did. I've never been happier." Soulmate. That's a bold claim, but it raised eyebrows. How long had this been going on? Some fans dug deeper and found old photos of Julia with a guy who looks a lot like Alex, taken years before she met Brandon. Could Alex be her ex-boyfriend, the one she kissed during their engagement? The resemblance is uncanny. If it's true, it means Julia and Alex's story goes way back, and her marriage to Brandon might have been doomed from the start. Now let's get to the juicy part. Julia's affair with Alex. We know about the kiss with her ex from the last resort, but sources say that was just the warm-up. The real infidelity happened with Alex, and it's what broke Brandon's heart for good. It started innocently enough. Julia and Alex reconnected in 2024 at a dance event in Russia. Julia was performing, and Alex was in the audience, captivated by her moves. They swapped numbers, claiming it was just friendly networking. But it didn't stay friendly for long. By mid-2024, Julia was sneaking off to see Alex whenever she could. She'd tell Brandon she was hitting the gym or grabbing coffee with a friend. But in reality, she was jetting off for romantic weekends with Alex. Paris, London, you name it. They were living a double life. Brandon caught wind of it in late 2024. He found flirty texts and photos on Julia's phone. Proof she'd been lying for months. One message reportedly read, "Can't wait to be with you forever, my love." Brandon was crushed. Brandon says, "How could you do this, Julia? I trusted you." Julia says, "I'm sorry, Brandon. I didn't mean for it to happen like this." Julia begged for forgiveness, but the damage was done. Brandon couldn't unsee the betrayal. He packed his bags, moved back to the farm, and filed for divorce shortly after. The affair with Alex wasn't just a fling. It was the final nail in the coffin. When the divorce hit the headlines, followed by Julia's lightning-fast marriage to Alex, the 90-day fiancé fandom lost it. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere you looked, people were weighing in. One fan posted, "Julia moved on faster than Usain Bolt running the 100-meter. Team Brandon all the way." Another said, "I'm not surprised, she's always been shady." The reactions were a mix of heartbreak, anger, and straight-up shock. Castmates chimed in too. Angela Deem tweeted, "Cheaters never prosper, sorry for Brandon." Meanwhile, Yara Zaya kept it classy, saying, "Wishing them both peace. Love is messy." The silence from others spoke volumes. Nobody wanted to touch this drama with a 10-foot pole. Experts weighed in too, saying reality TV might have amplified their issues. The constant cameras, the pressure to perform, it's a recipe for disaster. Public exposure can turn small cracks into canyons. Julia and Brandon never had a chance to fix things privately. Fans debated that too. Some blamed the show, others pointed fingers at Julia. Either way, it's a saga that's got everyone talking. So where do Julia and Brandon stand today? We've got some exclusive statements that shed light on their feelings. Julia says, "Divorcing Brandon was tough, but I had to follow my heart. Alex makes me feel alive. I'm not sorry for choosing happiness." Brandon says, "I'm still hurting. Julia's actions blindsided me, but I'm working on moving forward. I just want peace now." A friend of Brandon's told us, "He's a wreck, but he's strong. He'll bounce back." Julia's cousin said, "She's head over heels for Alex. Nothing was going to stop her." It's a tale of two very different endings. Since the divorce, Julia's embraced her new chapter with Alex. They're living in Russia, where she's growing her business, Kingdom for Dogs, a pet supply store that's taken off with Alex's help. Julia's all in on this venture, saying, "Alex believes in me. It's our project together." Meanwhile, Brandon's back in Virginia, focusing on his pest control job and picking up photography as a hobby. He posted recently, "New beginnings are hard, but worth it. It's clear they're both trying to heal in their own ways." What's next? Rumors say Julia and Alex might pop up on a future 90-day spin-off. Brandon, he's hinting at stepping away from TV for good. Only time will tell. Wow, what a journey, right? From love at first sight to infidelity and a secret wedding, Julia and Brandon's story is one for the books. What do you think? Did Julia do Brandon dirty, or was this just fate? Drop your thoughts in the comments. More update. 90-day fiancé's Julia reveals if she's still together with Brandon after painful death of son. And 90-day fiancé's Julia Trubkina reveals if she's bringing parents to US after losing son. And 90-day fiancé, Julia and Brandon finally reveal why they are missing from the EA Season 9 trailers. I will explain everything. 90-day fiancé's Julia reveals if she's still together with Brandon after painful death of son. Before the beginning of 90-day fiancé, Happily Ever After, Season 9, Julia Trubkina is opening up about her romance with Brandon Gibbs. Julia came to the United States in 2020 from Russia. In the 8th season of 90-day fiancé, Julia wed Brandon despite her hatred of living on the farm with his parents. As they discovered in couples therapy on The Last Resort, it wasn't the sole problem in their marriage. While Julia was against having a family, Brandon was keen on starting a family. Even before they were married, he hadn't forgiven Julia for being unfaithful to him. Julia was not allowed to bring her parents to the United States by him. Season 9 of 90-day fiancé, Happily Ever After, featured Brandon and his fiancée because, despite therapy, Brandon appeared dissatisfied. Although Julia's most recent update is encouraging, The couple still had a number of difficult times after treatment ended, and Simba's death appeared to have further isolated them. Julia wished her Instagram followers a happy 4th of July while posting a selfie from the passenger seat. Julia put on an emotional display as she posed for the photo, but her eyes betrayed her true feelings. It would appear that Julia and Brandon were riding shotgun in their automobile on their way to meet their pals. "No, I just couldn't." Julia included a photo of herself and Brandon with a few of their friends in her subsequent story. Julia tagged Brandon in the story, but she didn't tag any of her pals. It was her first 4th of July fireworks viewing though, as she mentioned in her writing. Julia couldn't say no because her pals were begging her to go, she said. It seems like Brandon was having a good time in the photo. Julia and Brandon updated each other in June 2025 on their season 25 duties. Julia shared an image of the two, suggesting that the trailer left them out of the story because of the secrecy and drama involved. She made it clear that she would not reveal any details about their narrative or the hardships they endured. Season 9 of 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, will feature Julia and Brandon as a pair. However, they were absent from the trailer. Because of this, viewers may have been perplexed and may be worried that Julia and Brandon were cut from the show. Things change though when Julia confirms she and Brandon are in the season and then says they're still together. After Julia's dog Simba died of a stroke in May of 2025, she is still grieving. On social media, Brandon doesn't seem to care about how she feels, but in reality, he seems to go to extraordinary lengths to make his wife happy. His willingness to go to the fireworks show with Julia says a lot about their marital status. Posting the official promotional poster for 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, Brandon has raised anticipation for the next drama by hinting that their journey is far from done. Fans may anticipate their most intimate and heartfelt chapter to yet, as he hinted to it. Everything works out in the end for Julia and Brandon, even though they endure some of their most difficult obstacles this season. 90 Day Fiancé's Julia Trubkina reveals if she's bringing parents to US after losing son. After Julia Trubkina's tragic loss, she wondered whether her parents were planning to move to the United States to be with her. In 2020, Julia and Brandon tied the knot. Having to remain on Brandon's parents' property was making Julia unhappy. After settling into her new home, Julia discovered a calling in dog training for the retired couple. Season 9 of 90 Days to Happily Ever After will delve further into the trust and money problems that Julianne and Brandon faced. Even though Julia wanted her parents, who were divorced, to move to the United States, Brandon was opposed to the idea. There is a new update now. A recent Instagram image by Julia featured her with her brother, parents, and grandparents. Although she never said why she was with her parents in Serbia's Belgrade, she did say they were there. "Did you bring your parents to America?" was posed by an admirer of Julia's, Mike Enivab, in the comments area. "We will see," Julia answered, her response accompanied by 3 crossed finger emojis. But just a little while later, Julia posted to Instagram story, captioned, "Going to an interview for a visa," alongside her parents. Beyond Julia's English language barriers, Brandon and Julia have a lengthy history of misunderstandings. Infidelity with Julia's ex-boyfriend betrayed Brandon's trust before she emigrated to the United States. Even after all this time had passed, and they were technically on a break, Brandon still hasn't forgiven her. Not wanting children and wanting her parents to move to the US are only 2 of her big life choices that he has disagreed with. The thought of Julia's parents sharing a house made Brandon uneasy because they are divorced and have a history of fighting. Since Julia had not yet launched her pet services business during filming of season 2 of The Last Resort, he may have been anxious about being financially liable for them. Julia probably wished she could have her parents around to talk to while she was lonely in America. Unbeknownst to Brandon, she applied for their tourist visas, yet he behaved as though they were relocating permanently to Virginia. Julia has revealed a lot in therapy and on social media, but she keeps it all to herself. Her recent loss of her cherished dog Simba to a stroke was a source of great sorrow for her. She considered him a son. Having someone to lean on emotionally is crucial, especially when Brandon is emotionally aloof and irritated, while Julia is publicly fighting depression. Attending Julia's parents' visa appointment without Brandon says a lot about the developing gap in their marriage and suggests underlying concerns they haven't fully confronted, even though the couple may divulge more on 90 Day Fiancé. Happily Ever After. 90 Day Fiance's Julia Trubkina reveals upsetting new update after mourning son and leaving America, but why? The 90 Day Fiancé star Julia Trubkina from the show Happily Ever After. After losing her son and departing the United States without her husband, Brandon Gibbs, she just gave another heartbreaking life update with her Instagram followers. Despite facing challenges as a married couple, Julia and Brandon were able to overcome them and fortify their bond throughout season 2 of 90 Day, The Last Resort. Unfortunately, disaster struck in April 2025 when Simba, the dog owned by Juliet and Brandon, fell ill. In spite of Julia's best efforts to ensure he received the best treatment possible, he died in May of this year. After Julia's dog died, she'd uprooted her life in the US to be with her family in Belgrade, Serbia, leaving her husband Brandon behind. She is still sad even though she is back with her family. Julia recently posted a nostalgic video of herself and her dog Simba to Instagram, along with a devastating emotional update. She expressed that the loss of him is still affecting her, stating, "I think about you more than ever." Additionally, Julia stated, "Nobody knows how much I care." It seems from her post that she still hasn't gotten over the death of Simba, the son she considered. According to Julia's post, she needs time to get over the loss of her pet. She attempts to put her pet's pain behind her and concentrate on the here and now, but she can't help but feel attached to her pet. Julia debuted her pet gift box company, Kingdom for Dogs, in the beginning of 2025. In addition to selling her wares well, she also amassed a dedicated following across the USA. But once Simba passed away, things became much worse, and Julia's work-life balance suffered. Julia and her family departed from the US in June 2025, and Brandon was left behind. Fans began to worry that this might affect their marriage, but it seems that Julia and Brandon aren't at odds with each other. Their marital happiness is likely to increase as a result of their focus on mental and physical health. Brandon is in the US honing his workout regimen, while Julia seeks joy with her loved ones. With any luck, the couple's fresh strategy will help them have a happier marriage and deeper bond. As Julia remembers her dog Simba, it breaks my heart to watch her struggle with her feelings. Given the profound impact Simba had on her life and the close bond she shared with him, her profound grief is understandable. Fans will be able to follow Julia and Brandon as they continue their journey in the following season. Their storyline promises to be equally as intense as ever, even if the pair has been absent from the 90 Day Fiancé. Happily Ever After, Season 9 trailers. 90 Day Fiancé's Julia Trubkina reveals heartbreaking life update after continuing to mourn son. In 90 Days with My Fiancé, Will We Marry? After the tragic loss of her only son, actress Julia Trubkina shared some difficult life news. She first gained fame during the 8th season of 90 Day Fiancé. Julia eloped from Russia to marry Brandon Gibbs in a tiny Virginia hamlet. As a result of being forced to live on the farm with Brandon's parents, she felt disappointed. At the same time, Brandon still hadn't forgiven Julia for cheating on him mid-break. He was also grieved by Julia's desire for no children. Similarly, he was against Julia bringing her parents to America. In the upcoming 9th season of 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, viewers will see Juliet and Brandon again after they try couples therapy on The Last Resort. During her season tease, Julia revealed her involvement in the spin-off and offered a nostalgic mixed-feeling reminiscence. Julia posted an album to Instagram with the remark, "No spoilers about our story, what we shared with you, and what we went through." She even went so far as to call it reality TV for her admirers. A picture in the carousel showed Julia and Brandon having a deep chat in the living room while their dogs sat at their feet. The cameras were capturing them from all angles. The dog chilling with the cameraman, captioned Pochantal, one of Julia's subreddits, I love how he simply wants to join in on the adventure. Julia said, "He was always by my side," in response to the fans' thoughtful remark. "This is going to be incredibly difficult to bear." Simba, Julia's son, died of a sudden stroke, and the admirer had no idea that the dog was his mascot. Season 9 of Happily Ever After apparently began filming last year with Julia and Brandon, just before Simba's death in May 2025. Hugely devoted to her new son, Simba was a German shepherd who Julia took in from her husband Brandon's family farm. Simba had a devastating stroke in April 2025, which left him immobile and numb. The veterinarians even suggested euthanasia, but Brandon and Julia would not budge. His every need was attended to at all times. They took him outside, helped him with eating and moving about, and Simba started to get better, astonishingly. When he felt ready, he underwent a second procedure. The worsening in Simba's health ultimately resulted in his premature demise. Looking at the footage from Happily Ever After Season 9, it seems that Nala, the other dog of Simba and Julia, was quite involved. The couple's therapy sessions didn't save Julia and Brandon's relationship. In Brandon's opinion, Julia should not have filed the paperwork for her parents' visas behind his back. He was still hurting from the affair and was harsh to his wife. With the exception of Simba and Nala, Julia had no one to help her through the challenging marriage. Since Julia won't reveal any spoilers regarding the season, it's possible that things are going to take a turn for the worse soon. From the moment Julia arrived in America, Simba was her closest companion, sticking by her side through good times and bad. Julia has had her share of ups and downs in the past 5 years, but she never saw herself losing Simba. Even though she will miss him dearly, watching him on 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, will bring back fond memories of her time with Simba. 90 Day Fiancé. Julia and Brandon finally reveal why they are missing from the EA Season 9 trailers. Finally speaking out, Julia Trubkina and Brandon Gibbs addressed the omission of their characters from the Happily Ever After Season 9 trailers. Over the last several weeks, they had remained silent regarding the entire matter. After 90 days, the celebs left the last resort on a high note. A second opinion from the physicians would help Julia with her infertility, and she vowed to her husband that she would never hide anything from him. Gibbs, meanwhile, consented to assist his wife in bringing her parents to the United States. A more kind and communicative person toward her was his promise to her. But as they left the resort, the couple encountered some difficulties. Simba, the pet of Julia and Brandon, passed away. The second one also shared on Instagram about his father's deteriorating condition. Was there another snag for the pair? For what reason weren't they in the trailers? Fans of 90 Day Fiancé can no longer wait for Happily Ever After to return with a new season. A handful of months ago, TLC unveiled the Season 6 cast. Some of the couples that were present included Tudlali and Adnan, Darcy and Georgie, Jovi and Yara, Lauren and Alexei, Kara and Pilermo, and even fewer. In addition to Jasmine and Gino, Andre and Elizabeth, and Brandon and Julia were among the returning couples. The trailer, which showcased the couple's lives in all their turmoil, was also released by the network. Nonetheless, viewers were somewhat aback that the teaser did not feature Julia and Brandon. The absence of the cast from the sneak peek started to perplex them. Therefore, a lot of viewers were perplexed as to why the couple abruptly decided to leave the show. Some people thought the reality TV stars might be experiencing some kind of trouble again. Do you mean that? Happily Ever After will chronicle the romance of Julia Trubkina and Brandon Gibbs. Fans were taken aback when they noticed the couple wasn't in the trailers. Even when asked about their absence, the TLC performers stayed mum. After much silence, Julia and Brandon eventually addressed their absence. Trubkina recently posted some behind-the-scenes images from the set of the show. The behind-the-scenes photographs showed her smiling. The 90 Day Fiancé star laughed and smiled as she posed for some candid photos with Brandon and the rest of the crew. What we shared with you, our story, and what we went through, no spoilers. Trubkina wrote, "No more today. What are you thinking about this gossip today? Let us know in the comments. and stay tuned by subscribing to our channel to get more updates like this. Thank you.